All righty, what's going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the channel for another market update. Hope everybody had a lovely day. And with that being said, dive into the TA. All right, guys. So we did have a big gap up this morning. I was hoping we would honestly open down slightly where we were this morning, go a little bit lower on the week, and then probably put in a big reversal candlestick here on the weekly. That would have been ideal. As of right now, guys, we gapped up big this morning, right around 7 o'clock. And then, we traded sideways for, the rest of pre-market from there and then all day today. That is what we got. We rejected the 9 EMA, but I'm here to tell you that we are very likely going to be continuing from here. Okay. Even if it's just a little bit more, there's that. Okay. But yeah, what happened this morning to get the big old spike over here is Trump came out and said that they've been negotiating with Iran for the past few days. And then what caused the little pullback that came right after is the Iranian leaders came out saying that, hey, this guy's full of shit. He has not been talking to us. So we don't actually know what happened there, but we do know that now we have until April 9th, okay? So April 9th happened to be the bottom over here, all right? So this came, this big shoot up over here when Trump said to everybody it's a good price to buy the S&P 500. He said that over here, April 9th. Market shot up that day. You had a 10% day on the S&P 500. No, I did not think you get a 10% day on the S&P 500. You don't have that many buyers on the sideline here. All right. In that case, you had like a full-on crash going on here where, in this, really in 3 days here, we did fall 15%. That's pretty insane. All right. So we're not in that same boat. Just realize that. Don't expect this thing to massively shoot up. What you saw over here, this is probably the most you're going to get, until everything has blown over. Okay. They opened the Strait of, I don't want to pronounce it wrong. But Strait of Hormuz. I'm pronouncing that wrong. I know it. Regardless, okay, until everything just ends, okay, all of the conflict going on, until it's over. And keep in mind, inflation did spike up, so we're probably also going to have inflation readings coming hot next month as well. So just keep that in mind, because oil prices right now are they're up, all right, and they're not down yet, all right. Like they're down quite a bit, but just realize, like, you see what's been going on? I'm just saying what we're seeing this month is going to hit next month. What we see next month is going to, so it's a little delayed. We're pretty much guaranteed if we just had inflation data starting to pick up. In my mind, we're pretty much guaranteed, okay? It's not a guarantee. It's just very close there. If we just had that ticking up, it's going to tick up next time. It's guaranteed. That being said, I did get my alert today that we came back and tested that 21 over here in CL. Nuts action that was going on this morning, okay? But yeah, we have until April 9th. If they dump this thing down, okay, I just have a very, like, if you get a slight bounce up here and they dump it back down here, okay, I think we're probably going to bottom out around that April 9th date, just like last year, and Trump is going to have it his way. It's not a guarantee. It's just that's how the cards are laid out right now. Okay. So if they do end up dumping us down into that date, and we know already, like, that's guaranteed. Okay. Like that's Trump's threat. Okay. He called off the ultimatum right now and pushed it back a little bit, but they got to make a decision by then. I'm guessing the war is over by then. All right. If the president is coming out saying this stuff, I'm guessing that's going to be the case. Okay. Now, that being said, all right, I did mark out, I went back to 2020. All right. COVID, March 2020 there. I marked out every time this occurred. All right. I actually went further back, but we'll just leave it at 2022 now. You can go back to, 2020 and 1.3%. If the daily RSI came down to 30 and then crossed back above 36, that's what I have marked out here. Okay. This was in 2022 at the start of the bear market after you had your first initial sell there. You based out, you start breaking up from that. And by the time you had that, what I have measured out here is from that day's close. So from today's close, that would be from. That's where all this, the stat here is taken from. Okay. 3.6, 3.5, 1.8, 4.7. Most of these are higher. Okay. But you have 1.5% being the smallest one going back to 2022. Going back to 2020 adds like 2 more on, I believe. And you get 1.3%, okay, being the smallest one over the coming sessions. 5.33%, 2.2, all right. So either way, from today's close, that's going off of today's close, all right. So, the smallest one we're really looking for is that. So I just want to say 10 points higher. That's 10 points higher than today's price, today's closing price there. That's the minimum expected move, really. Since 2022, okay? And, since before then, we're talking 1.3, all right? Going back to 2020. That's 6 years, okay? It's March 2026. That's March 2020. You got 5 to 6 years of data, however you want to look at it. You go here, whether you go back a little bit more, that's how that's went. So just realize, okay, it's not guaranteed, but, I know we have a rejection here off the 200. It's very likely that they will continue this. It's very likely that we'll take out today's high at least. All right. That's all I'm getting at. That's the whole point of it. There you go. If you're new to the channel, my name is Henry. And I go over the charts here. I cover the probabilities on a daily basis, okay? And on a weekly basis, we have 5 videos a week, Monday through Thursday. We take Friday off, all right? And then we hit it fresh on Saturday, okay? / Sunday, but Saturday is when we will be uploading the weekly updates, okay? And yeah, I go over the indices. I go over the expected price action. I cover the probabilities based off what we have. I go over the support and resistance, pretty much the scenarios, the different scenarios that could play out here. So you know every step of the way, hey, where are we going? All right. And you could see in real time, there's certain triggers. It's if this, then that. All right. And then I also give you trade ideas after we finish going over the indices and the Magnificent 7 stocks at the, second half of each video, really. Okay. Stay tuned. Hit the subscribe button. Like if you're feeling ever so kind. Ever so kind. Okay. But yeah, rejection off the 200 daily moving average today on both SPY and QQQ. So we'll just come over here to QQQ. You got the same exact thing going on over there. Right off the daily 9 EMA as well. You also retested a key spot you broke down from over here on QQ, which is 594.76. Okay. So confluence for the sellers right there. And they slammed it down 1.2%. That being said, because of what we just went over, we know we're very likely going to, really at least get this move up to, 665, 666. And at that point, if it takes 1 to 2 sessions, we are going to be right there at the daily 21. Now, keep in mind, okay, I don't want to mention it. All right. But I feel like I'll mention this while it's relevant, which is until Friday. I'm going to mention like once a video. So it's not talked about a lot. Okay. VIX. First of all, where's your VIX crush? Your VIX crush is right here. All right, 40%. That was the case. You marked a top over here. Just realized 25 out of 26 of these occurrences going all the way back until VIX's inception over here in 1990. 25 out of 26 has given a 3.5% move off of that next week's low on the S&P 500. All right, 25 out of 26 times. That's 96% chance. 96%. I'm not saying it has to happen. I am saying this is what's happened for 35 to 36 years now. All right, like that's how it's gone. I'm not going to argue with it. I'm going to point out the probabilities. Okay. And yeah, that's 96% chance since inception. 35 years of data there, which I'm telling you, that's taken, however the market has traded since then, it's taken all parts of our cycle here. Okay. Oh, look at that. Hey, you see that right there. All right. Pause and read it if you'd like. There you go. You know what? I'll leave that because I want to review that when this thing is way down there. We'll go away for now. All right, there you go, buddy. You bounce back. I know you have these lower wicks. Just realize this is not how a market crash happens. This is not how the VIX typically will behave. You know, most of the time when it's doing what it's doing right now, like it's not getting ready for another, you know, big move up. We also went over in, you know, the weekly update there, which was yesterday's video in this case on Sunday. We did end up going over that every time VIX ends up coming back up to a high, okay, after we get this signal, it just marks like a major market bottom. Like you're bottoming shortly after. You're not going through a market crash right now. We talked about how, you know, I went back on SPY and QQ. You don't get, you know, a 15% correction, pullback, crash, whatever the heck you want to call them, okay? You know, bear market starts at 20%. That's really, you know, where that starts. People throw around that word, okay? I remember seeing that word over here. I remember seeing that word the whole, you know, this whole time over here. And I'm going to be honest, you know, today I'm still like thinking just stick to my guns, okay? If they can pull off the fucking impossible, okay? If they can bring SPY to 684 by Friday, I will be mind blown, okay? And at that point, yeah, I do think we're going to all-time highs, okay? Regardless, we look back here on SPY and QQQ. Again, you know, VIX stat, that is the stat. 25 out of 26 times. Who are we to argue with it? I don't care if it works or not. What I do care about is, you know, I will place myself on the side of those probabilities, the winning side there all the time. Okay. And sometimes it doesn't work out. Like I pointed out, you know, if you're looking to be a dip buyer, buying oversold conditions, just realize it's worked every single time over the past few years. You've had a 2-month period this whole time where you could have just sold every oversold condition. And yeah, you know, I mean, either way, what I give you guys, you know, these stats we go over, they still take into consideration during these times. They still trigger during these times. We genuinely have not, okay? Like over here on SPY, it's kind of just aggressively sold down over here, which makes me believe like they probably got most of the move done with, okay? Like if they bring this down, let's just say that was all she wrote, we come straight down. Weekly RSI goes straight to oversold territory. At that point, just look back. I don't care. Go to COVID. You're done with the sell. Like, what are we talking about here? You're at the end of the sell-off. You have one more week after that, and then you go straight back up to all-time highs. Look at what happens over the coming months. Don't mess yourself up when you're in this situation, when you know what comes after. All right? Just don't do it. People think this massive bear market's going to start up, you know, this bigger, you know, leg down. Just realize they don't know until like we move up, like I'm talking about, retest the short-term moving averages and then move down. Even during the 2022 bear market, what do? You found your bottom after literally one to 2 weeks of selling, which we have more than that right now. You found a bottom for the time being, and then you have this bounce into the weekly 21 EMA. Just wait for the weekly 9 or weekly 21 to be tested. We're either getting back above it right away, all right, or you will reject and close underneath them, and we probably do come back down to the low. We get one of two scenarios. You have this, all right, or you have what I point out right here, which this is just 670. Again, the crazy shit can happen. Who are we to say it can't? You have until Friday, SPY. You have until Friday. Pretty much, you have until Friday, Trump. Okay, if Trump does some taco shit, 684. Now, do I think that's actually going to happen? No, I'm flabbergasted. It didn't work out, and we sold as much as we did. But that's really going off of this low right here, 66136, 3.5%. I think it's 3.6%, but 3.4%. That was the stat. That brings us right to 684, okay? But really, you got two scenarios. You're either going to reject right over here off the weekly moving averages, or if you even get past there, if you really get up here at 677, 678, you're probably just going to keep going. All right, and that's that. You have two scenarios from that point. Just wait and see which one's going to happen. I'll give you some trade ideas in the meantime, because now we do know we're likely at least going to have a supportive market for the time being. All right, we likely are going higher than where we are right now. All right, even if you do reject right here, 670, even if you reject off these weekly moving averages, expect more of a bounce than what you just got. Why? Because every time you cross through the 200 DMA there, you got at least, I think it was, I pulled up right here for us. All right, give me a second. Give me a second. All right. Yeah, 16 out of 17 times we saw over a 4% move. 11 out of 17 times, 64% of the time, it was over 5% bounce off the low. Guys, we're like 2% off the low, 2.7%, I believe. This smallest bounce you saw that whole time. And go back, even during the worst of the worst over here. This was your Trump crash 1.0 over here, okay? Even if this turns into 2.0, look at that, 4.8% off the low. All right, expectations, guys. I'm already seeing my Twitter feed, just checking in after the close. I just was curious, okay? I look, it's a bunch of people still suggesting this bounce is going to be sold. Even over here, and maybe it does, but you go slightly lower and then you have this bounce, Just realize, in which it's unlikely with what we just talked about. You're still likely going to take out this high that we've made today with what we talked about right before, at the beginning of the video there. But even over here, like, look what happened off the low. I'm just saying, use your brain. We didn't do that yet. Okay. Either way, let's go over some levels. We'll go over the Mag 7 stocks. I really only have 3 I want to talk about today. And then I have a bunch of names that are standing out. And some of the names we already talked about in the weekly update. I told you, quote unquote, Palantir. Okay. There are only a few names I gave you, but when you have strength, and, if something's holding up above the short-term moving averages, it's just reverting to the mean while the market is absolutely tanking there. You should probably pay attention, because once the market stops tanking there, that's when the thing with relative strength, let me just explain it really easy here, okay? Something supporting it going up. What's causing it to go flat? Okay, like it's going up, it's going up, it's going up. You guaranteed have all that selling pressure. You see SPY absolutely tanking. You saw SPY's daily RSI come down underneath 30. There is selling pressure no matter what. The fact that PLTR is not going down with the market, the fact that it's staying flat in doing this means there is someone right here. Big fish, a bunch of small fishies. Who cares? It's buying pressure. It's demand. You hear about supply and demand. You see resistance. Okay, you see support. Support is demand. Supply is going to be up here at your resistance. Well, guess what? It's all the same thing. It's buying pressure. It's selling pressure. You have this fishy. You have this fishy, which is the big market right here trying to push it down. It's not moving down. What happens when this thing gets taken out of the equation? Nope, wrong one. Looked on the wrong one. What happens when this one gets taken out of the equation? You're just going to start going like this. All right, that's relative strength in a nutshell. What I just described right there, that's relative strength. What's relative weakness here? Okay, well, this guy's going down. All right, well, this is the market right here. It's going up. Why is it holding flat right here as the market's moving up? Okay, once the market gets a pullback, all right, once market, okay, then so pretty much once this guy's taken away. All right, once market stops supporting that thing, the selling pressure that's like holding it back while the rest of the market moves up, it prevails. Relative weakness. There you go. There's a little short 1 minute lesson there. There you go. Okay. Either way, guys, we'll talk about them in a sec. Let's go over some levels here. We'll talk about Nvidia too. Nvidia is a good one. On the upside over here on SPY. All right, we're talking 661.36. You rejected there this morning. Now we're going to mark out today's high. 662.62. Take out 662.62. That's right at the daily 9 EMA. You really have nothing until 669.66. That happens to be right at the daily 21 EMA, just like you rejected here, just like you rejected here, just like you rejected here. We're going to expect a reaction there. If you get above there, we're talking 675.79. On the downside, all right, we're talking today's low, 653.94. I got the hiccups coming on. I just felt it, and I'm fighting it just for you guys because I love you guys. There you go. On the downside, 653.94, 650.85, 646.19. Okay, and at that point, yeah, you're probably coming down to 640, or I think you bottom out 635 to 640 personally if we do end up coming back down, but I could be wrong. Again, if you get this scenario and you don't end up seeing this like minimal bounce, I don't know what to tell you. Like, they're not going to keep it going much longer. All right. This thing's not going to have time to reset. You are going like this right here. You need sideways action or you need bounce. That's what the RSI needs to not just continue falling. If we get back down to this closing price right there, this will be underneath that low. And if you just get down to 640 this week, let's say this really just comes down 15 points, guys. It's 2% away. It's not the biggest of deals, even if it does happen. Let's be completely real about it. You know, you kind of have to pray Nvidia actually would do it. Now, I don't want to because I did establish a full position today, okay? I did add what I wanted to add down at 170. I did add today. That being said, they're April calls, and yeah, I'm looking for 189. So now, I would not like this thing to pull back. I would not, all right? That being said, you give me this, I'll throw 5 to 10K more onto 417 April calls, okay, over here, and we'll see about it, okay? But again, you know, with the stats, I'm sorry I'm bringing up the stats right now, but these are my oversold conditions that I watch for every time. I watch the VIX, I watch SPY, I watch QQ, I watch Nvidia, baby. Okay, you know we watch Nvidia. And we also got Microsoft. It's in right on the weekly 200 moving average right now. Okay, it's got the bullish divergence on the weaker side. Is this thing really going to keep tanking, guys? Probably not. All right, but Nvidia. Okay, before we go over, you know, some QQ levels there, let's talk about it. 19 out of 19 times. You end up seeing this over 10% move over. Now, I got one wrong, okay? I lied to you guys, but it was only by accident, so I apologize. 19 times, though. I believe it's 19. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 19 times. 18 out of 19 times. You had a 10% plus move over the next 2 weeks. We're talking, you know, that would be by April 2nd. So not this Friday, but next Friday, which we have next Friday off. So it's actually next Thursday, which is April 2nd. All right. But 19 out of 19 times, you got the 10% move by 3 weeks. So the one time it did not work out, the one time you didn't get the 10% plus move off of that low where you got into 37 on the daily RSI, okay? The one time it didn't work out, you waited one more week and it worked out and it kept going. Okay, and you got larger than a 10% move. All right, so I'm going to say 100% hit rate for 3+ years now. You put in a false breakdown, okay, from this head and shoulders pattern. Okay, you didn't quite take out this low over here, but you put in the false breakdown. We could clearly see what's going on here. Let's just take this all away. Hang on. All right, take away Nvidia's toys there. There we go. I guess they're my toys. All right. You know, but this is the same look you have right over here. It's the same exact look you have right here before you launched 4% from that close the next day. All right. And give it 2 more sessions from this low, you're up 11%. All right. You know, that's like by Wednesday, we're sitting up here. By Thursday, it would still be crazy. Okay. Now, also, talk about this right here. There were only a few of these times where you didn't get that move the first week. Okay. The vast majority of these, you did end up seeing it only take about a week to get the move. All right. You know, and it didn't work out. It was that second week, but we could see that, you know, let's just count them down. All right. Not that one. That one's just about a week there. You have 1 over with a week. You have 2. You have 3, you have 4, you have 5, you have 6, you have 7, you have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 3, 12, 13, brain dead, brain fart. That's that. 14 out of 19. Okay. So vast majority of these, you got the whole move that first week. This aligns it's by hitting 680. I can't say it with the straight face, but like straight up, if Nvidia shoots up, that kind of aligns with the scenario here where SPY shoots up. So I'm just so open to anything this week, and I think you should be too. All right. We already know that Trump is starting to do the taco thing. Okay. He's starting to change his mind. So we'll see. He kind of, you know, withdrew a threat there, tried doing some damage control this morning. It didn't really work out. It didn't, you know, I mean, it worked for the market, I guess, but, you know, and now he had to push back the deadline. So, all right, now we see what happens, but I'm just pointing out, we have supporting evidence that we might see a move up this week. We might see a big move up. We'll see what happens, but either way, I'm looking for further upside. Went over the levels there on SPY. We'll go over them quickly on QQQ. We'll go over Nvidia, Amazon, Apple, and Google. Okay. And then we'll go on to the trade ideas. Okay. All right. On the downside here for QQQ, we have today's low at 585.96. Underneath 585.96, we're talking 580.74, 574.63, 565.97. On the upside, reject that big spot we talked about earlier, 594.76, right at the daily 9 EMA. Also rejected the 200. Big confluence spot for sellers. You also have the 4-hour 21 EMA sitting right there. Okay, so big spot. We're just going to take that. We're going to go like that. There we go. All right. And yeah, above 594.76, we have that daily 21 right around 600 right now. All right, right around 600. Get above 600. We're talking 605.90. All right, and that is going to probably mark where you go higher. And then we do have the scenario, the crazy shit scenario. Okay, that would be what brings that. All right, and those are the indices, guys. You know, DIA, we did point out, daily RSI reached a point where, hey, even during your extremes, like, you're going to bounce back from it. It's just how that typically goes. You build out divergences. Even if you're building out divergences, you still get these bounces along the way. You know, that would say if you don't continue the bounce right now, you get this. And that's what I'm trying to get at SPY. Like, you know, daily RSI is already down here. Weekly RSI is already down there. You know, if they're going to just do some, you know, weak stuff like that, okay, like, it's just going to build divergence. Or, like, even if it doesn't build divergence, on that next move lower, like, it is a major bottom. You know, like, I'd be pretty confident, at least. All right, maybe not. No, I mean, I would with everything I'm talking about. I know we're stretched. I know for a fact, you know, NASDAQ McClellan Oscillator. I already showed you guys the New York Stock Exchange McClellan Oscillator. They're already stretched. You know, you bring them down to absolute extremes, like, yeah, you know, they're definitely not staying there. Regardless, guys, that's that. We'll go over these names right here. Nvidia 178.26. We're moving on to the Magnificent 7 stocks over 178.26. That was yesterday's high. Not yesterday's high. It was Friday's high. You rejected there this morning, so you didn't get above it. You swept the level and pulled right back. You actually tested it twice today. If they can break it back above there, you have the 200 daily moving average sitting right there. You have the 9 EMA sitting right there. I'm guessing you make a run straight for the daily 21 EMA, which is currently around 181.50. All right, that could be dragged down to around 181 if that were to happen tomorrow. All right, or it moves, you know, we'll see where it goes. But yeah, daily 21, right around 181 as of right now, if you can get over 178.26. So that's going to be the short-term target. If you can get over there, 185 incoming. That's where you got all the pressure up in here. All right, you can see right around there. We'll call 184.70. That's going to be your target above the daily 21. You get above 181, we're talking 184.70. That's Nvidia. And, you know, again, if they fade this thing, like, I do think they would bring it down to 165. I'm going to be completely real with you guys, okay? Like, this looks like it's going to do this. Okay, it genuinely looks like you could be starting this, but here's the thing. You know, I was telling people, you know, this morning the Discord on the live, you know, this is something you kind of pray for as a trader. Like me, at least, I would pray for it because this is my most confidence trade that I've taken, you know, time and time again here over the last 3 years. You know, I've taken every single one of these signals. Like over here, I remember I just built up the position. And I'll do that now. They keep doing it, okay? I'll build up make contracts. Regardless, this signal has paid me every single time. I don't have a reason to doubt it. I really don't. Even the worst case scenarios, like over here, look, it still went lower, but look, in one day you got the move. Okay, over here, this was the worst case scenario where I think one of these, no, you still got the move on all of these within a few sessions. Like it still gave it. There was one here where it gave you 2 chances. Yeah, it was right here. This is the one I remember, you know, that's crazy. Okay. I'm just saying, all right, like, look at this massive move up. This was the first initial, what was it? 3 drives too high. What was the, no, it was an inverse head and shoulders right over here. I just remember this was the first time I was bullish over here because I had discovered this stat. This stat came from Avgo. Okay, this like legit just came from Avgo, the daily RSI coming down to 37, because in 2022, this has worked every time. And I remember just marking it out on my chart, and I just was like, yo, no way. I could have done this every single time. It might have even worked over there, but I think it started in 2023. I think the first time was right here. That 37? That is 37. So this is when I discovered it. After these two times. This was the first time I did it. Okay. Or no, this was the first time I did it right over here because of that. And then I think from there on, after this point, I only did Nvidia. I didn't trade Avgo no more, ever. It was strictly Nvidia. And look, like even on Avgo, you could have followed along with this the whole time. And guess what? Guess what was right down there the other day? Oh, the daily RSI. It's not the same spot. And it's stupid. I know it sounds stupid, but it's something that's worked, and I feel like I should share it. Okay. So I hope you guys enjoy these things. And right now, April 2nd calls, if this is going to end up working out like it has, 18 out of 19 times here, if it works out and this thing does push to 190, the 180C is going for like $200 right now. Okay, that's a 5x. I pointed out in the weekly update. But April 17 calls, like they will go 150 to 200% on that 15-point move. It's going to be about 150%, I believe. You need about 10 points to get 100%. So just realize, hey, this is probably going to happen. And I pointed out that most of those moves, they happen, like 14 out of 19, they happen the first week. So that's like you taking weeklies and that paying. Like that's probably going to be like a 10x if that actually ends up. If you get 1 to 2 days like that and you actually get calls while it's not moving, yeah, there's your 10x on your weeklies, okay? Regardless, there's the opportunity. It's a banging. It's a knocking. It's a partying over here. If you actually break down from the head and shoulders and the Bears do end up winning this battle right here, you're looking for 160 to 165, and then you're looking for the bounce back up to here to test the weekly 21 EMA. The 10% bounce will come regardless. Got to make sure in our path that there's room for it. You broke down over here from your structure. Okay, this is just a much larger structure. So I do not think this is going to break down. I genuinely don't think they're going to do it. I think they will save it right here at the 200. But again, everything has to work together. We need the market to actually move up for any of this to happen. Regardless, these moves on Nvidia, okay, for this to happen right here, you need the market to move up. For this thing to not come down to a new low. All right, but if it does come down to new low, these are your two scenarios. I'm thinking 160 to 165. I would look to buy it down there. But this is every time you can throw $10,000 to $20,000 onto 1 month out in the video calls, and you have been paid $10,000 to $20,000 every single time, every fucking time. All right, every single time. I can't say it any more clearly. No financial advice will be given here on this channel, though. Just keep that in mind. All right. Next one, Amazon retested right here. Daily 21 EMA also retested where it broke down from, which is your bear flag. Okay. The lower trend line here, it break and retest off of there. We'll see if they want to continue selling this thing. Okay. If you open up underneath today's high and then take out today's low at 209.51, you can target the gap at 207.54, and then you have 206.22, and you have 204.32. If the market wants to keep selling, there's that. Now, that being said, everything we just talked about suggests it's probably going to continue bouncing here. Expect the expected dip to be bought as long as you're not really doing some damage. Like if you come back down here to 650, all right, I don't know what to tell you. You probably are going to come down to 645. Like you're only 5 points away. But maybe not. I don't know. This market's unprecedented. It could do whatever it wants. It really can. We got an unprecedented president. It's crazy, man. He's a crazy man. It's outrageous. It's crazy. Okay. Look at IWM also bounce it back right from the 200. It's a beautiful sight. A beautiful sight. All right. Oh, would you look at that? Okay. It could fail. But you're probably getting more of a bounce than what we got. That's all I'm getting at. That's all we're getting at. Okay, and look at this. Look at this range here on ES. This is just, again, with these unprecedented times, like this is just nuts. All right, like these are turning point kind of dates when these things pop up and about. This one over here, I feel like you only get these around turning points. I'm just saying. We just had a big one down. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you only get these at capitulations. I don't know what's gonna happen. All right. I just want to be fully transparent with you guys. I can definitely be wrong, and that's fine. It isn't about that. It's just I do find this very funny. I don't know. I'm just saying, like this, we already got one. Yeah, no, not even a 4%. I feel like you only get 4% when you are at these capitulation turning points. Like it's just you're not gonna find these candles if you look back for a while. You don't find too many. Like we have 2 of them down here. No, we have never mind. We have 4 of them back to back down here. Nuts ass volatility down there. But like look at it. It's not they're not up here. They're at turning points. Regardless, that's a little thing I just saw. It wasn't planned to be put into the video. That being said, honestly, I freshly chart with you guys all the time. I literally, after market close, I chart for the Discord, and then I come over and, I share with you guys what I want to share with you guys. All right. And that is how that goes every day. So I hope you guys enjoy our raw charting sessions. I obviously do preparation ahead of time, but I'm watching the markets all day. This is kind of just my nice summary and I hope you guys are looking at it the same way. I hope this is like a nice wind down period for you guys as well. That's kind of how I see it. The market's volatile, the market's, moving and grooving. I know we didn't have shit today. Okay. It was like a wide range for what we've recently been getting, but it definitely was not all that. Just look at the chop you had all day. That was pretty much it. You didn't get much. But compared to what we had on some of those days, we had 0.5, 0.6% range. Okay. I think we had 3 sessions in a row with a 0.7. No, that was, I think maybe it was over here. We had very narrow range. Yeah, it was these days right here, back to back. And then you dumped. Okay. But yeah, I hope you guys are looking at the same. You have your tough day, and hey, you're going to work. I put these out, right around 5 or 6 o'clock every single day, guys. Okay. So, you're getting out of your 9 to 5s, you're getting out of your job. Okay. You come watch these videos on the way home or listen to them, whatever you want to do. All right. But yeah, I hope it's a nice little wind down and a nice summary at the end of the day. That's really how I like them to be. I've been seeing a lot of Substacks pop up. And honestly, I feel like my video is a Substack form. It is, I sum up everything every single day. We go through things one by one, and just imagine it's in article form. There you go. All right. I've been on this wave. We structure our content like this. So I hope you guys enjoy. All right. But yeah, we went over Nvidia, went over Amazon. The last one I want to talk about is Apple. And then I want to say Google's either going to hold on right here or it's not. Okay. If this thing takes out not last week's, but 2 weeks ago low at 293.93, you take out 293.93. I imagine this is going to continue selling. All right. That being said, you take out Friday's high there at 304.37. You do have the daily 21. You got compression going on here. If you do test the upper bound of this area, you get up to 308, 309-ish up here. Like you're probably going to bust right through and push 311.07. If you can push 311.07, it looks very similar to what you have on AMD, which is just you have this nice compression going on here, and it looks at some point one of these sides is going to win. It would look like the bulls is going to win. If the daily cloud can then flip green, you're probably honestly going to start a trending move again. All right. You can see for the whole move up, daily cloud is green. Okay, the daily and weekly clouds, I'm telling you, they'll guide you. All right. This right here. Oh, I know, not for right over here, but once it flipped red, look, it just kept going. Oh, it goes red. Leave it alone. Oh, you got faked out for a few days. Who cares? You then got this nice move. Look, the red the whole time. Oh, it turned green right when dip started being bought again. It turned red when dip stopped being sold or stopped being bought. Use it. Okay. Use the indicator. All right. It's right here. EMA cloud 150/250. You could pause the video. These are the settings. 5, 9, 21. To make it look like mine, make this red, make this clear, make this white. Opacity 100%, opacity 100%. The middle one, opacity 0%, so it's clear. Okay. All right. They use the daily 5 EMA, the daily 9 EMA, the daily 21 EMA. That's what these lines are. Okay. There you go. All right. But Apple over here, I went back and I, just marked out every time you tested the 200 moving average right here, the 200-day moving average. You got one time over the past few years where this has failed. Okay. Like one time where you didn't get a decent move up. That next week started. Okay. Like decent, rather freaking decent. 4.7. I'm thinking that's the smallest one. Maybe you have one more, 3.8. 3.8%. That's the smallest bounce off that low that you had. What do we get so far? You had 3.5. So what does this tell you guys? You're very likely going to take out today's high. You're likely going to be taking out last week's high at 255.13. At that point, you're going to push the weekly 21 at 257. All right. I can't tell you if you break above there. I think you are. All right. But I can't guarantee it. Regardless, I'm expecting a larger bounce off of Apple's 200-day, which means if this thing pulls back into it, we're likely going to see buyers step in, and then we get ready to break out from the daily 21 here, and that probably triggers a larger push. So I'm going to be watching for it, but yeah, I don't think Apple's going to sell right through it just because, yeah, you could look back every time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. This is going back till 2021. I probably can look back. This one right here, you crossed into it. What happens? Next week, you get it. Look at that. That's a 20% bounce off that low. But from that week's low, 13%. Now we're back in 2020. That's COVID. So is it likely that this holds up? It didn't hold up this time. I see over here. But yeah, this is recent price history, 6 years. Is it likely to hold? Yeah, you're probably going to take out that high. So expect Apple to go higher. That's it. And hey, if it's wrong, just realize, I want people to understand what these videos are. We're looking at charts here. This is the probabilities. I can't guarantee what things happen, just like nobody else can guarantee. And if you find people out there, I saw this term on Twitter, the Dunning-Kruger. I think Dunning-Kruger. And, that's how it is. Every single time we have these extremes hitting the markets, people have this crazy overconfidence. And, I just got to sit there and be like, yeah, I mean, you don't know, but I don't know. We don't know. You just might as well just let it happen, And, I think I've adopted that mentality because it's just and people think I'm this super confident permabull. But guess what? Okay, it's clickbait. It's clickbait. The thumbnails are to get new people. If you don't get people to click on the video, are they going to watch the video? Think about it. No, they're not going to click on the video. So I'm sorry, I do clickbait, you guys. But that being said, I do so with a lot of individual tickers that we do talk about and trade anyway. All right. So it's genuinely I think people just think I'm always talking about SPY, but now there's always relative strength. If you've been with me here on this channel for, extended period of time, even weeks to months, there's always things moving every single week. I call them out every single week, even on this week. PLTR, I pointed out ahead of time the things with relative strength. It's just GEV, I pointed out, the things that are holding up like this. We talked about this concept in the weekly update, where if you are consolidating going sideways, what happens when the market starts getting mean reversion? What happens when that selling pressure lets up? The stocks are holding up like Palantir, like GEV over here. They go a little ape shit. And that's that. It went a little ape shit today. 60-point move off the open. Nuts. All right. 70-point move up off there. That's relative strength. Okay. There's always going to be these names. All right. It's up to you to find them. All right. And when there's not, just realize, I'll tell you in my experience, when there's not those names, when there's not a theme going there, okay, a theme, a sector, whatever you want to refer to it as, if it's not there, you're usually at a turning point when you see mass capitulation on everything across the board, and within a few days, you get the big bounces that we talk about, and a lot of the time, I'll see Nvidia capitulate with everything else, and Nvidia investors over here. And I just take the easiest trade and I just size up on Nvidia. I will value this over all of these other names. Why? Because it hasn't failed me, and it will fail me at some point, but then you take the fucking paper cut and you move along. And maybe it's not a paper cut and it is what it is. You just move on. It's one time for years the signal didn't work. If you've been making money on the signal, you can't complain about it not working once. You can't. Okay? That's just how it goes. All right. But those are the Mag 7 stocks, guys. Those are really all I want to talk about. I want to talk about Nvidia, Apple for further upside, Nvidia for further upside, but the scenarios as well. And then Amazon. Hey, if the market wants to keep selling, Amazon, I would imagine. I mean, even if the market doesn't keep selling, Amazon, you gap up over here and then take out this low. Yeah, look for the gap though. If you take out today's high, you're back above the daily 21, and then you watch for the retest of 215.70. You take that out, we're talking 220.47, and then, yeah, what I talked about in the I think I said in the weekly update, or it was on Thursday. I do think we're going to at least test this daily 200 moving average right here from underneath. It just looks like the probable scenario here, regardless, you know. And if you go lower without doing that, like that's then going to be the next, you know, if something like that, like we're going to expect it to have a big move back up and retest this big area, you know, right here in the middle. All right. Like if you get a chance to buy it down there, look at this. This is going to be a big move. By that I mean, it looks much bigger now, but I just did math in my head. It's 20%. It's not the biggest of moves. We get those over here in our sleep on the No, we do, though, consistently get them on the video. So it is that. In all seriousness, there is that. All right, let's talk about some individual tickers. I'm sorry it took so long. You know, like I like talking to you guys, okay? Maybe you guys like you know, being here, summing up the day over here, okay? Coinbase, all right? I'm hoping it happens exactly like the last. I did take off my shorter dated calls. I'm letting my April calls ride, and I'm giving it room. And I'm either gonna get stopped out on a break underneath 191.87, or I'm gonna see this move up, and we're gonna get paid over here on this move. If it's gonna be like the last two times we had this exact same setup, I'm talking the exact same. You don't believe me? Oh, mistaken you are. The exact same. It's the same. All right. You know, you even got the sweep of the high over here. Well, you just missed it last time you swept it right over here into Friday and you sold. What happened here? You sold on Friday. All right. Regardless, I do want to say it still looks intact with how this has gone in the past from this area or not. This looks ready to rumble. Okay, and you come over to a 4 hour and you could see these equal highs sitting right here. It looks like they're about to be taken out in the next candle, the next, you know, this next 4 hour candle here, or over the next few. It doesn't have to be on the next one. It looks like they're about to run these highs though. All right, and if they start running those highs, you're probably going to start making your way up towards 210. At that point, you're right next to 213.50, and I think they're going to get this party started, baby. If this is going to be like the last two times, and this move is going to happen by Tuesday, all right, they're going to start this party by Tuesday. All right, this is Monday. By Tuesday, from Friday's low, 16, or Friday's close, 16%. This one over here was right over here from Friday's close right here. All right, the thing ran 30%, 31% by Tuesday's close. Okay. But that would be by tomorrow. I am not saying that happens. Don't get the wrong idea there. That's how that's happened the last two times. Regardless, it's a nice technical setup for you to just risk right over here underneath 191.87 and see if you get this breakout from this, you know, 2-day range we now have right here. Take it out. If you test 213.50, you probably start seeing this thing move, regardless of if it goes by tomorrow or not. All right. So Coinbase, I'm watching for it. There you go. All right. We talked about Apple. Next one, AMD. We already talked about AMD once this video, but we'll talk about it again. If you take out 209.21, this daily cloud should flip green. At that point, I'm looking for a move through 220 in the short term, and then 227.30 is going to be what I'm targeting. Above there, we have the golden pocket, 236.60 to 240 to 250. 250 down to 237, we'll call it, okay? That's the golden pocket. You target 220 above 209.21, then 227.30, and then the golden pocket. There you go. Bada bing, bada boom. GEV, you already got this move. Okay, expect pullbacks to be bought. It's likely going to be, I mean, you should get a pullback, even if this thing, you know, just continues running for now. I'm looking to buy that first 9 EMA test whenever it comes. It's probably going to be a retest of this area. So just put it on your... I kept this thing on your radar the last few weeks. You know, you've had it on your radar. I pointed out over here off the weekly 9, pointed out once you printed the inverted hammer off the weekly 9. You know, I pointed out this thing every step of the way. You know, I haven't traded it as much as I would have liked, but also, you know, the premiums here are kind of, they're kind of jack wagons over here. Okay. They're juiced and you do need quite a big move to get paid on them. So, and they're also low liquid there if you go anything but the weekly. So they're a little bit tricky, but stock price or, you know, the share, okay, the share movement there. If you're trading shares, this thing is a work of freaking art. All right. Relative strength up the butt over here. It's going crazy. All right. Look for the retest. I'm watching for it. You know, maybe even this thing doesn't continue right now and it pulls back into the 21. Expect that to be bought initially. Okay. Those are the two scenarios I'm going to be watching for on GEV. NBIZ, I'm still watching and I'm still on the prowl for 110.50, baby. Okay, let's see if we get 110.50. If we do, you're retested where you broke out from. This is a multi-month range here that you just broke out from. A 4-month range you just broke out from. Very likely going to find buyers. That's that. Okay, next one, LWLG. This was a ticker request today, and I just want to point out this is a beautiful chart, and it's just a beautiful chart. That's all I want to point out. Whether this thing continues consolidating right here, okay, build something out, or it just wants to continue moving, I'm not sure. Okay, regardless, it's on my radar. It's a $1 billion market cap here, and it has a break and retest off 626 going on right now. You pulled back to the 9 EMA. All right, I am assuming this thing's probably going to make another leg up. All right, and above $8, target $9, $9 to $10. There you go. Have fun, kids. Either way, I'm paying attention to it. I hope it continues consolidating there. And, you know, more consolidation, the better. That being said, it does look like when this thing likes to go, kind of just gets this move over with. Maybe gets a retest of this area. I'm going to watch for the retest. But, you know, you have one time where it looks like you retested that high right here and then continued. And you have one time you just continued. And then you have another time where you just continued. So, you know, right over here, you kind of just continued. So I'm guessing you're just going to be going over 804 over the coming sessions here. You're not going to retest it. You're just going to go to $9 to $10. There you go. I'm liking it. And I think a larger move is, it might be starting up. That's kind of why I wanted to point it out. I think, hey, you know, I see a lot of these stocks that just keep wanting. Someone brought this up today. Okay. And, you know, this chart reminds me of this. So I'm just pointing out. This thing, absolute monster, by the way, extended from the weekly 5 EMA. Notice how, all right, you don't get extended from the weekly 5 EMA. So expect this thing to pull back or go sideways from where it is right now, really into next week. It's probably not going much higher without a pullback or consolidation. Just something to keep in mind. Avgo, not in the immediate short term here, but short term as in next week. If the market does want to have this big sustained move up, Avgo is going to flip this daily cloud, this weekly cloud green here. It's probably going to retest 350, 234 up there. We have to wait and see if that happens. If that happens, multi-month / multi-year move up over here in Avgo starting. There you go. That's just how that's gone over the past 5 to 6 years. I expect it to continue trading here. Again, it's a very nice indicator that, you know, I stumbled upon here and just pretty much punched in the moving averages that I was already following along with. I just didn't have a cloud with it. And the cloud, it makes it really easy on the eyes, baby. Real easy. Okay. Next one is ONS, ONDS. You have a bunch of consolidation going on right here. Reminds me of what we had over here, except we're just kind of seeing the action be sideways grind instead of a slowly up grind. But, you know, you have the same, like, almost 2-month range going on now that you have. It's not even a range. You just had this 2-month sideways period before it launched. That would be next week. We have earnings next week. I don't know what's going to happen with those. But I do want to say this looks ready to launch. So I would not be surprised to see this thing start going. And actually, earnings are this week, not next week. They are this week. I'm bugging. But yeah, we'll see what happens over there. But you got this nice range going on here of you know, about a month here. If you break over 1159, probably will get the 1242 breakout following that. At that point, you know, you're on your way. All right, you're on your way back up the highs here. Or you reject the golden pocket and it's gonna do this crap right over here, which is boom, retest that area and probably would then find buyers there. And guess what? You know, we see this, I'll point it out on the retest too. I can pretty much guarantee it. I've been following along with all these ons moves ever since. Yeah, honestly, I think ever since over here. Following along with ons. Typically when something pops up, you know, all over, like, you know, if it's on social media, I'll see it eventually regardless, and I just kind of add it to my watch list. And then, hey, if it gets good price action, we continue covering. That's how it goes about, you know. But yeah, every week there's, you know, different names moving here, guys. TSM weekly 21 EMA test has been commenced. We are now starting to pivot up off of that. If we can break above last week's high at 347.95, I think this is probably going to continue. Above there, we have 357.35, and then we have a gap left open at 364.65 right up here. All right, and that is what we're going to be looking for, and that's going to align with the golden pocket. So I would expect sellers to step in shortly after that. Maybe they don't at that point, but if they're going to build something out, I wouldn't be surprised to see something like that. All right, or from there, you go like that. Or honestly, just something like this. And just like that. All right, but that's TSM. Cypher, CIFR. I just want to point out, this thing is getting tight against the 200-day. Still a break and retest off over here. There's still just a massive bullish structure building out here. I mean, you know, it either breaks down or up, guys. It's getting real tight. Like this, between here and here, that seems big, but it's not, all right? Compared to the moves that this thing has been making in the past to get down here. Look at, you know, expansion into compression, you know, and it just keeps compressing. This is so long now. Either way, I'm looking for a breakout, all right? I'm watching for the break over 1628 in the short term. That happens, game over. Cypher's finally going. Now, if this happens, I assume the market is getting a larger bounce. I don't think we're going to see, you know, a risk-on like environment just return. If SPY, I mean, yeah, honestly, as long as this whole thing is going on, you know, as long as there's geopolitical tensions in the air, all right, we are probably not going to see a bunch of these, you know, what really are riskier names. You know, these are the names that they were only moving when, you know, risk on capital is just flowing into everything pretty much, you know. It's been a stock picker's market for months, though. You can see this thing hasn't gone anywhere. Well, this is like a lot of other stocks, except it looks a lot more controlled. I'm telling you, this looks like they're going to send it. So I'm watching for it this week. It looks like they want to get it going, considered they already tested last week's low. Cypher. Next one is ALB. ALB, break and retest of 153.54. I've mentioned it every time of the past month. All right, every weekly update, I think I've mentioned this name, except last week. But I'll mention it right now because it's starting to pivot up off of 153.54 again. And this is really just a big mean reversion after a massive move up. You know, this whole move up, really without pullbacks along the way, without big ones, $50 to $200. 4x, 300%. Of course it's consolidating. It's fine. All right, we don't know what happens next. But I'll tell you, chances are you're going to pivot up off this area and get into the upper end of this, okay? That's ALB. It looks like it wants to move up. Another data center name, consolidating above the 200-day moving average, getting tight right now, in between there and the daily 21 EMA. It looks like this is about to make a move to either 29.43 and likely will continue pushing from there. All right, just like when you have a little double bottom action going on, just like here, you push through it, you keep going. All right, so we're getting tight. Okay, we have a higher low. That would be into a higher high. At that point, above 29.43, we're talking 31.68, 34.19, and then you have the golden pocket 35.50 to 38.50. All right, or it's going to break, you know, down and test the 200-day, and you see it's either going to sweep these lows and bounce right back, or it's going to lose that and start a larger sell. Regardless, Cypher's waking up there. We know Nvidia already woke up. We got to play that one. All right, and then APLD, this is another one that, you know, I remember I was pointing out throughout this time period, whether that be up here, I pointed out, you know, multiple times. We also pointed out, you know, in this, I remember trading over here. And I also remember, yeah, right here, this was we got a 300% on my trip to Greece last year. That's what we got. This was a memorable one. All right. But yeah, either way, consolidating, getting really tight over here on the weekly, getting tight on the daily. I'm looking for that expansion. You got compression, comes expansion. Watch for the break over 29.43 on APLD. Dell, I just nothing in the short term. It probably will continue moving up. All right, daily RSI is overbought. I just want to talk about this thing. This might be starting a big move up. I don't know what Dell's got cooking under the hood there. I got no idea. But this chart looks like this thing there might be a big catalyst coming, and I've been pointing it out. I have stayed pointing out ever since you spiked up over here, I believe. This looks like it wants to continue. It continued this month pushing. We now made it back up to this high, 168.08. What comes next? You have a higher low into a higher high. What comes next? 179.70. What comes after that? Price discovery mode. This looks like a giant ass launch pad. It's the monthly chart. It's just 2 years of consolidation here. It looks ready to go. I just don't know what's going to do it. All right. But yeah, I just thought I'd bring it up. This looks like a monster. Please do not FOMO into this thing over any of these other names I just gave you while it's at the highs here. Like that's not the idea of me bringing it up. I want to admire this chart here and just point it out, put it on everyone's radar. I'm paying attention. I don't know if I'm going to pull some trades out of this, but I am keeping on my radar here. Dell. Annette, not one. I think I've taken one trade ever on this name. But I like, again, with the compression comes expansion thing there. Well, this is doing that thing. It's compressing in between, horizontal resistance 140, 141 and the daily 200 moving average, which is found buyers off of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, failed it 6, 7 times. You failed it once, you got right back above it. Over the past 3 weeks, it looks like we're probably going to be breaking over 140, 141. That's what I got my alert for. That's what I'm watching for. Above there, probably going straight to 150, 180. Above there, 164.94. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I truly do. All right. If you did, just please remember to leave a like on the video. If you would like to come trade with me, that link is going to be down below in the description. Okay. That being said, guys, I hope you guys did enjoy today's video. I hope you guys did have a lovely day, and I hope you guys crush it tomorrow. And yeah, just, realize that it's not a end all be all, the information we just went over in this video. I know we spent, like 20 to 25 minutes there really just, summing things up in the beginning of it, talking about, just where we are right now, expectations in the short term here. Like, we rejected the 200. We're probably taking out today's high, that's the probabilities. It's not a guarantee. Don't put yourself in a spot where this thing plummets here and you're just like shit out of luck, because I promise what comes after, this weekly RSI gets oversold, you start seeing a, bottom get put in before a big bounce. And typically, even if you come back down, like you're going through a basing process, like at the end of the day, all of these go back up to all-time highs. It doesn't matter how low you go. So, just realize, put your investor hat on and just realize that no matter what, this will go back up to all-time highs. And every time this gets down there, it starts bouncing. And if you go straight down from here, it's going to go straight down there. That's that. Like, that's how that will go. And, there's that. Okay? That being said, I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your day, and I will catch y'all tomorrow. Peace.